Life isn't making sense anymore. Grown adults pushing each other to the floor over a cup and straw that they so adore, just so that Betty can get her sparkly pink cup that's gonna poison her for the small price of $60. Little kids scared shitless over lines appearing on their skin at the ripe age of 10. Millennials bullying Gen Z for looking like old hags. The list goes on and it gets uglier. Gen Z is constantly slammed as the generation who is lazy and has no aspirations to work. But the last time I checked, come a little closer, everybody wants to work. Everyone is wanting to get by at the moment, but how are you supposed to do that at the moment? By dedicating yourself to a job that only pays $7.50 an hour. How is it so surprising that as the years go on and the newer generations grow up, we find that people don't want to have to do a minimum of 50 hours per week, to not ever see a cent in savings, to not ever see a well-deserved holiday, to be in a position of quite possibly never ever owning a home, and on top of that, the little cherry on top of it all, seeing that TikTokers will complain about doing a 10-second video for 20 grand, seeing that one of your very last resorts is taking off your underclothes for a $4.99 a month subscription, seeing that the only way out is through and it's bleak. This person is expressing their frustrations with working 40 a week, only for it to result in a shocking $2K per month, along with constant sadness, and people are ripping her apart because this is the real world. I have 17 side hustles and I don't complain. Imagine even needing more than one side hustle in the first place.
Why is it that I have to work 40 hours a week just so I can have a place to live? 40 hours a week makes me $2,000 a month, and my rent is $1,660. So I work 40 hours a week so I can have a 2-bedroom apartment and an extra $300 a month. Like, it doesn't cover my phone, internet, food, you know?
$300 a month does not even cover the bare necessities that a human being needs to have in order to survive. And being paid $2,000 when your rent is $1,660 is just, I applaud the people who are able to scrape by and still have a roof over their heads, because it was one thing growing up with not a lot years and years ago, but now if you don't have money, you are
So not only do I not have any extra money, but just working makes me so exhausted that I don't have time either. Like, I get off work at 5:30, come home, and I'm just so tired. I'm so tired that, like, anything that I need to do outside of work, I then just push off to, like, the weekend, and I'm like, I'm just too tired to do this after work. I'll wait until Saturday.
But then you're literally working 7 days a week. Where is the recuperation? Where is filling up your glass so that you don't fall apart? The world is falling apart at its very seams, and constantly seeing Gen Z doesn't want to work, Gen Z is lazy, all because this time around we prioritize mental health so that we're not offing ourselves every other day. It's so crazy because whenever you talk to a privileged ass, Gen Z doesn't want to work, Gen Z is lazy, Gen Z could just be their own boss, they've never struggled in their life. They've had a silver spoon put in their mouth since the day they were born. And while I am happy that those people have never had to deal with the kinds of struggles that the rest of the world has had to go through day in and day out, like, it just pisses me off to no end, because this person is Gen Z. They are working, but it's breaking them right before our very eyes. But since she's working, let's just say she's entitled, she's really wanting a handout, when it's like, no babe, we're in the late stage of capitalism. Unfortunate for us little people.
So then I end up with so much to do on the weekend that ends up having to be split into 2 days. So I have to do stuff on both Saturday and Sunday. So then I don't get a day off. I don't get a day to relax. I don't get to decompress. So it is really like working 7 days a week, constantly. And I don't want to do that anymore. Right?
And I think balancing the line of not wanting to do it anymore, but also not wanting to be out on the streets is one of the most difficult things that you can go through, because it would just be so easy, right, to say, it all, I'm gonna throw this all away, it doesn't even matter anymore, I don't care about myself, I don't care about my life, etc, etc. That is a very real reality for a lot of people out walking in this world, might I remind you. But the problem is, she's not wanting to do that. She's just a product of how broken the system truly is.
I don't care how poor and miserable I would have to be, but I literally can't have a place to live without this, you know? Like, I don't know what to do. I'm not made for this. I don't have the money, time, or energy to enjoy my life outside of work.
That absolutely breaks my heart, because nobody out there should be dealing with this. Nobody out there should be struggling this bad that they feel like they have to choose between living on the streets or giving up their entire lives to slaving themselves away like this. What the actual Everybody's doing this, if not more hours. You don't see us crying. I cannot believe the lack of emotional intelligence this response has. I don't know how you can watch somebody hanging on by a thread and just dismiss their cries for help. There is absolutely no chance in hell that you have not shed a tear due to still working more than 40 a week, still only being able to afford basic human necessities, still just barely getting by off of the money that you compromised your mental health and body for. It's getting grim when even us little people are fighting amongst each other on who works more hours, who has more side hustles, hell, who is selling themselves short more than the next. When you see stuff like this, it's usually from people who don't want to better their surroundings or themselves or their position in life. They are looking for a handout or a reprieve or a miracle and a pat on the back or an easy route from the work. How about learn a trade or a skill, or go back to school and get financial aid loans for higher education? There are so many jobs where you could be your own boss. If it was that easy, dickhead, then don't you think that every single person who has these problems would be doing just exactly that? Unable to afford essential items, just go back to school. Housing, food, transportation, education, health, just be your own boss. I can just tell how privileged somebody is just by listening to the stupidity coming out of their mouths. People want to better their lives and they want to better their situation. That isn't really the issue here. It is what's stopping that from happening. I can tell you right now, this girl isn't waiting on a miracle because she's too busy out there busting her ass so that she isn't out on the streets. Do I really gotta spell it out? People are wanting to die because of how heavy this is. What is not clicking? All of this alpha bro self-help bullshit is just that bullshit. And you're doing nothing but piling on and adding on to the obvious. Yeah, life is a lot easier when you are your own boss. Take it from one. If you've ever had to really struggle before, the first words that come to mind when seeing somebody on the brink of ending it all isn't be your own boss, go back to school and learn a trade. It's how can we alleviate some of the heat here? Could we possibly look at downsizing? Would that be better for right now? Is getting a roommate an option so it's easier and cheaper for us to live? And let's not forget too, people have to work these quote-unquote crappy jobs. We need essential workers. We need McDonald's employees. We need factory workers, because without the backbone of society, it all goes to shit. Look at what happened during the pandemic. That'll be your answer. This isn't just an isolated problem, however. A girl is seen handing out her resume in New York. She speaks a couple of languages, she has 2 degrees in communications and acting. At this point, she just wants to live off of TikTok. I mean, who wouldn't? Charlie D'Amelio earns as much as $100,000 per sponsored TikTok. Addison Rae makes between $50,000 to $80,000 per post. Need I say more?
This is the most humbled I've ever felt in my life. I'm literally holding resumes, a stack of them, so that I can go in person to places and say, are you guys hiring? It's honestly a little bit embarrassing because I'm literally applying for like minimum wage jobs, and some of them are being like, we're not hiring, and it's like, what? This is not what I expected. I graduated college with 2 degrees in communications and acting. I speak 3 languages. Oh, this sucks. Like, I just want to be a TikToker, if I'm being so for real with you. But I can't be delusional anymore. Like, I literally need to make money, and so I'm just gonna keep trying.
I'm sorry guys, but that end bit hit me like I'm trying. I've seen so many people drag this girl by her hair in the replies. And let me tell you, it sucks because for the most part, being unemployed is no fun. It is the worst. People who are actively out there searching for employment at the moment are all being put through the ringer. Everyone says they're hiring, but they're not actually hiring, if that makes sense. People won't get a job purely based off of a small discrepancy. Why is it whenever somebody is verbally stressing about money, they're told to find a job just to shut them up, but the second these people are to action just that, finding a job and being unsuccessful with it, then what exactly? Are they supposed to bottle up their emotions and wait and pray on a miracle to happen, so to speak? Or are we gonna have these tough conversations that finding a job in this current climate is genuinely difficult? So many factors can obviously come into play when being unsuccessful in ventures to find work, such as your location, maybe your resume isn't up to scratch. But all that to say, where in the giant are those 353,000 jobs that the streets are talking about? Even minimum wage jobs are being stingy with the positions that they are hiring out to people. It's truly a disturbing reality that so many people have to go through and just suffer through it. But remember, that one guy said to be your own boss. I mean, without any support, it's easy peasy. Right? Gen Z does want to work, but the restitutions just aren't enough. It is not cutting it anymore. Working our guts and ussies into the ground, but will never quite make enough for a down payment. Gen Z does want to work. It's demonstrated every day with 20-somethings expressing their frustrations with the workforce, the system that is just set up for failure. People are being laid off multiple times into their careers and they aren't even 35 yet. People are pleading to be chosen out of the hundreds of jobs they've applied for. People just want to be able to pay their bills and buy their food comfortably. I personally don't think that is too much to ask for whatsoever. It could be very much realistic, but these corporations, man, gouging money out our bums every chance they get. If the pandemic taught us anything, it is that we are disposable and we quite literally don't matter.
I don't want to work anymore. And now everyone who's not going to watch the full video can go comment about how lazy I am, how lazy my generation is, and how we just don't want to work anymore.
You're lazy as and Gen Z doesn't want to work anymore and is absolutely disgusting. There you go. I said it.
And now for those that are still here, I will explain what we mean by that. I do want to work. If I didn't work, I think I would honestly probably get so bored that I would just want to off myself. Like, most of us want to work. It helps give you purpose. It helps give you something to do. Hopefully you do something you're passionate about. Luckily for me, I do something I'm passionate about. So I genuinely like my job.
And to add on to that, if I wasn't busy throughout my days, I would genuinely want to off myself too. I can sit and think myself into oblivion to the point where I genuinely just want to jump in front of a car. Like, and that isn't even a joke. I'm not even trying to be cute or quirky or whatever. I've been on medication to try and combat that, and raw dogging life is not easy whatsoever. So working and being busy throughout my days is definitely something that helps me. I can't fib right now. That's why I think the entire thing of Gen Z doesn't want to work is just god awfully dumb as shit.
But the problem is the purpose of a job is supposed to pay for you to be able to afford to live, and that's just not the case anymore. People in my generation who went to college, who did everything they were supposed to do, worked hard in school, went to a good college, graduated with their degree, yada yada, got their first job, and they can't afford to live. And we're working 40 to 60 hours a week, like on average, and we cannot afford to live. Like, we just do not make enough to pay rent, to pay for food. Everything is so expensive right now, and wages are not keeping up with the cost of living.
We are doomed.
So we are working full time, giving up a huge portion of our lives to work, and we can't even afford to live. That is why my generation is frustrated. That is why we don't want to work anymore, because we work really hard and we still can't afford to even get by. So, like, what's the point? We can't afford to save. We can't afford to buy things we want. We can't afford to go out and do fun things. We can barely afford to pay our rent and buy food. A lot of us have like 2 or 3 jobs, or like work a full-time job and have several side hustles. That is the case for me. And then older generations just look at us and they're like, you're not working hard enough. This is your fault. Like, you're not working hard enough. That's why you can't get. The reason we can't get by is because the cost of living.
And hearing the "you're not working hard enough" is so deflating, because every second that I'm working, I am trying to escape the sadness I feel in my bones. And yet you've just told me I'm not working hard enough? And now you're mad because I've just smacked you across the head? I mean, we're not going to be able to ever get out of these rentals, huh?
Since the 90s has gone up 67%, while the wages have only gone up 18%. So wages have not kept up with the cost of living.
That's it. And the cost of is not reflecting on the wages that are being earned at the moment. How are you going to continue to raise the prices of absolutely everything and bum us with all of these expenses and then get upset when we can't afford them, yet our prices aren't reflecting the wages? What are we supposed to do? You can't get blood out of a stone. I feel like I'm losing my mind. Overall, Gen Z does want to work. People do want to work. But when there is no payoff to working anymore and it's only paying to live, barely, then what is it all for? So you're telling me that generations previous to us could afford to buy a home with the way we're working out Aussies into the ground today? It is so heartbreaking to me just to think how many people out there are left without savings, are left without a crutch just in case it goes bad for a couple of weeks, just in case you get sick. I mean, people are even lying about the fact that they're not sick when they go to work, when they are sick and they don't have any time to recover. So they're prolonging these health issues, which inevitably is just going to put you out of work. But people don't have a choice. It's either you don't go to work and you lose everything within a couple of weeks, or you do go to work and you not only kill yourself in the process, but hey, at least you were able to pay rent this month. So with all of that being said, everybody, I would love to hear your thoughts and opinions down in the comment section below. Are you finding it hard to pay expenses that your wages are just not reflecting? Sound off in the comments. Let's have a conversation about it, babes. Thank you for your stay at Yappersville today. I know it was another long one. Okay, trust me. Oh, I can't just shut up. I really appreciate your company today, guys, and I cannot wait to see you again in my next video. Take care of yourselves, and most of all, love your fucking selves.